Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mom of six, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Homestead Education Podcast. Today I have Lindy Bryant from, um, I always do this, Northwoods of Idaho. Like, I'm probably not even going to cut that out because my listeners know that I'm a little spacey. So,
Hey, that's okay.
right? Well, so thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much for coming on today. Like, I've been excited to share your story after we met at a preparedness expo, and
Oh,
I just really think that you have so much knowledge to share, so I'm excited to have you.
well, thank you for having me on. This is a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this. I went, oh, good, I get to talk to Kody again. Yeah, we met up at the Panhandle Preparedness Expo in Sandpoint last
Sandpoint,
this.
Idaho, this little tiny place in
Yes,
the middle of nowhere.
I know, a little tiny place. It's growing, but
Yes.
I mean, it has a nice facility, and we get to use the fairgrounds there each year. So this was our 10th year of that expo that I've been doing that for several years, and it's a lot of fun.
I've been
Great
wanting to
group of
come for
people.
a few years, and I didn't go to a big event that I usually go to on the East Coast this year, and I was like, I'm gonna go to this one. This sounds
Yeah.
fun, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, and it's a great group of folks. I said one of the most fun things about the expos, the things of that nature is the networking. It's the people you meet.
100%.
You know,
And
when
not
I
just us as like vendors and speakers,
oh yeah.
the guests that come, they meet
Mhm.
so many amazing people and realize that we are all just here to teach and that that's what we're there for and that we love it.
And a lot of homesteaders and preparedness minded folks and all, they come to events like this and then they all go back in their little hidey holes. So
Right?
it's like, oh good, I did meet them, I know they exist.
Right. Like I saw a person for the first time in 3 weeks.
I brushed my hair, yes.
Right. I feel that, sometimes I write a lot, and then like farm work. So I end up just wearing like, leggings and stretchy pants because you know what? I grew up ranching and let's just face it, jeans are uncomfortable. And when I have to work that many hours and bounce back and forth between being an author and like crawling on my hands and knees through my garden, like it's a big deal to put on pants. And so when I do put on jeans to go to town, or if everybody gets dressed, my 5-year-old goes, "What we doing? You wear town clothes." I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh my gosh."
one of the things I do is, I teach classes, and one of the classes I give is called Evacuation, Ready, Set, Go. And
Mhm.
it's to help families prepare if they have to evacuate in an emergency. And the number one thing on the checklist is, does everyone have shoes on?
Right.
Because you stop and think about it. How often do you throw all the kids in the car, you get halfway there and you're going, you look at your 5-year-old and you go, where are your shoes? I don't know.
We've actually had that happen on the way home, so that was even worse. So tell everyone a little bit about what you do because we like got all excited, but I really love your business model.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I am a former Air Force officer, and when I got out, I decided to start my own company. What I had realized, my background, part of my military experience was in disaster response and emergency response. And when I got out, I realized, the military does a lot of this stuff for you. If there's an emergency, they give you a place to sleep and they give you food and they
Hmm.
give you your equipment. And nobody was doing that for civilians. And I went, okay, I want to
And
help
even if they are, they're doing it in the big cities.
in the big cities or on a very delayed basis.
Hmm.
Yes, we are going to be there in 3 weeks. Well, I'm going to be hungry before that. So I created Northwoods of Idaho, which ironically, I live in the woods in North Idaho. Um, and so it started out originally with um, basically writing a book. And
Hmm.
it's called the Grab and Go Binder. And basically, I help people
Wow.
put together an emergency binder so that if something happens, they can grab it and go, and they've got all their pertinent information. That's kind of where it started. And then it kind of blossomed into another book. And then I have a product line of survival kits that are non-tactical,
Nice.
because one of the problems that people have is if you're not a diehard, survivalist, you don't want something that's cami. You don't,
Hmm.
camouflage.
And
You
why
don't
would
want
I?
something.
Sometimes they're like $500 for these kits, and I'm like, I would never use half the stuff in here, even if
Right.
I was in a survival situation, because I don't know what to do with it.
But the other side
And
of
I'm
that
not
is,
trying to like night goggle on the neighbors.
yeah, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want a kit like that. It makes me look like I'm a,
A prepper.
doomsday prepper."
Does it come with
But
this tinfoil hat?
really, well, that's why what I ended up doing is I got like water bottles and I put
Yes.
survival kits in water bottles. Well, they don't look tactical, but they have like a flashlight and a lighter and a first aid kit and a sewing kit and an emergency
Mm.
blanket and a glow. It has all this stuff stuffed in there. You can toss it in your car. Well, that's what I started finding is that the niche I was working with were individuals who needed support, but were not rooted in the preparedness community.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of where what I've been doing is my motto of my company is helping individuals and small businesses be better prepared for whatever happens.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of what I've been doing with myself since I decided that it
Right,
was
that
it was
that's
time to get out of
something, I love so many like homesteaders, preparedness people, their business models come from not just filling a niche in a marketing sense, but filling a niche in the things that people truly need.
Mhm.
And that's been so fun to meet so many people that say, I saw that somebody needed this and I made it happen.
Right. And you also, I mean, I'm sure you do this too with your business. If you get the same question or the same focus from 10 different people, you're going, this is something I should be paying attention to. This is something
Yeah.
that needs support. Um, and I
You know,
mentioned
I
to
get a
you,
lot of how do we build a community? We realize that
Mhm.
we need to stop relying on the outside systems.
Right.
So not only
Um,
do I teach how to build community, but I also wrote a book on how to teach your kids how to not rely on the culture of relying on systems.
right. One of the things that I had pointed out to me is that a lot of people who are involved in preparedness, the guidance, the checklists, everything is aimed at large groups or families.
Hmm.
And a lot of us are single,
Hmm.
whether by choice or not. Um,
Well, and there's
and
also what if you're just by yourself when you need it?
right. And so what I ended up doing, one of the books I wrote last year is The Single Person's Guide to
Hmm.
Preparedness, Prepping for One. And people said, well, why are you focusing on single people? I said, well, if it's just you, do you really need 200 pounds of pinto beans? If it's just you, how are you going to handle security? Because you can't stay awake 24/7.
No.
So it basically looks at, and it's not just for the single person, it's for single parents, it's for retired individuals, things of that nature. And I mentioned to you, I said one of the things that I've been asked, had a lot of questions about in the last year are about people who are starting to become senior citizens, but are still not wanting to they don't want to move into the city. They don't want to leave the more
Their
rural
homes and
area.
yeah.
Right. And so I'm in the process. I'm doing a talk right now, and it's going to probably turn into a book about seniors and self-reliance. and the tagline is aging on the homestead. Something that unfortunately I'm going to have to deal with. You know,
Well,
we
and
were.
you
I was
we
laughing
live
with
in
my
an
daughter.
area with a lot of century farms, so they have,
Yeah,
aging, matriarchs, patriarchs, and even though the kids and grandkids help, they have their own jobs, and my husband and I, working from home, have that unique opportunity to go over and help where we can. But not everybody has that community set up or even knows how to create it.
I have some friends who were over visiting yesterday evening,
Because
and
farmers are stubborn, by the way.
yeah, and they're both in their 80s. They're still in good health. They still can do a lot. But he has spent 30 years building up his homestead, and they don't want to leave. Well,
Hmm.
they're looking now at how can we have someone else living on the property to help us, or what can we do to barter to get physical labor so that we can help somebody else but they can help us. Those are all issues and it doesn't have to be someone who's elderly. If you've got 20, 40 acres, and it's you, your spouse, and two or three kids, you still can't do everything.
No, especially if the kids are young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or older with lives of their own already started.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the question is, how do we, whether it's building a community or simply learning to barter with folks in the community, labor for goods, things of that
Yeah.
nature.
Sorry, I was laughing when you were quiet for a second there. My children are singing, my 17-year-olds are singing at the top of their lungs, like in the room behind me. And I'm like, I wonder if everybody's hearing that because it's
No,
not good.
bring them on in.
Right? But yeah, what were you saying, right? Oh yeah, the trading for goods and stuff. That is such, I mean, that's actually how we help. And my husband's an amazing mechanic. And while, the elderly family can't get out there and do mechanics anymore, and the younger family members are out working, he keeps all their equipment going so that when they get off work and need to like, hay 20 acres before they go to sleep, they
Mhm.
can just hop on the tractor and go
Yeah,
because he's been there handling it. And then we trade for hay so that we can
yeah.
keep our homestead going.
No, I know from where I'm at, I have 12 raised beds plus in-ground areas for growing things. I have a small property, but I can grow quite a bit here.
Hmm.
And I have an herb garden and I have a medicinal herb garden, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a young gal, a single mom who lives not too far from me, and she will come over and handle some of the stuff that I really can't.
Nice.
And in exchange, she gets herbs that she wants, and she gets, zucchini and squash and, cucumbers and all that sort of stuff that she doesn't have the ability to grow. So it's smart. I mean, anybody who thinks you have to have 20 acres
Hmm.
to
You don't.
be, you know, am I self-sufficient? Oh, heavens no. But can I take steps in that direction? Yes.
Oh, absolutely. It's a sliding scale. Everybody thinks that to be a homesteader or a survivalist or a prepper or something, you have to be all the way at the end of that scale, and that is not the case. And honestly, I don't know anybody who is completely an island.
Well, there was a really good article that was published recently, and it talked about how, unfortunately, some people in the preparedness community, even, but those around it, think that you have to have all the coolest gear, and you've got to have all the tactical training and the body armor plates and the room full of weapons and everything. But he said a $700 backpack does no good if it never comes out of the closet.
Right?
And that goes
And
for everything.
if you don't know how to use the things,
You can
because that's the
start
one.
you can start seeds take a toilet paper roll, cut it in half, close one end, put a little dirt in it, and start a seed. You do not
Hmm.
have to go and spend $80 at Home Depot for high tech plant, seed starting equipment.
No.
Uh, so there are ways to be creative, and I challenge people. I say, well, tell me your most creative solution that costs little to nothing.
Hmm.
And and people start throwing out ideas, and people are taking notes, going, "That's a good idea."
Right? And it's just it's a different mindset when you're kind of here in and doing this, and then you go out and you teach it like we do, and it's sometimes hard to remember that not everybody's in that mindset.
Hmm.
And like last night, my husband was we're butchering a hog this weekend, and he goes, "Man, I'd really love to have a skinning rack." We don't have one. We usually send our hogs out, but this one, um, he has he had like a hernia, and so we think we're gonna lose his bellies when we butcher him, so we didn't want to send him to a customer. So we're like, cool, we need some sausage in the house anyways. We raise about 350 hogs a year, so
Wow.
yeah, and so we only butcher like every other year. It's just not our normal or slaughter, I guess. We do a lot of butchering. We'll even go get them right after they've been slaughtered and then handle them ourselves. But
Mm.
Um, he's like, I'd really like a skinning rack. He's like, but I need some metal tubing to weld it. And he's like, we just can't afford that right now. And I was like, you're right, we can't. And so I was like sitting here thinking, like, what do we have? What do we have? I said, we have an old feed trough that is a metal framed like crib feed trough. If you just take the crib part out, that's exactly what you need. And so like we were up there, we drug it out and we figured out how he can just turn it into a skinning rack, and that there if we put slits in the crib part of it, like it's kind of like a leather material or like a stall mat material. If
Okay.
we put slits in it, if we want to, be graining a steer at the end or something like that, we can just slip that back in and the racks for the pig will just go through the slits. And I was like, okay, like we
Yeah.
saved all that money and we have something usable and it's still usable for things other than butchering.
Right.
And
I
then I
mean,
kind of stepped back and I was like, not everybody does this.
yeah, yeah. And same thing. We had my neighbor, the, the house that's next to me. The elderly gentleman that lived there passed, and his family came out, and they had this horrible condition lean-to, and one good snow, and it went over.
Hmm.
It was done. It collapsed, and they were going to just have somebody come in, put it all in a truck, take it to the dump. And I went, you've got a bunch of mm, roofing panels,
Oh, and
metal
those are so
roofing panels.
expensive.
Um, and I said, I'll give you, I'll give you $100 for all of them. And they went, oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, we'll take it apart. We'll bring them over and put them in your yard for you. I went, there's a deal. So I got
Right?
26 8-foot metal corrugated
Yeah.
roofing panels for $100
That's
delivered and put in my storage area. I
that's
was like,
amazing because we are always like we're building, pig huts and that type of stuff and like we have to go buy that and it's so expensive. That's like our biggest expense
yeah.
because
Well,
we
and
can always salvage wood from something.
I was thrilled to get it because I have an old gazebo in my backyard that I've been meaning to turn into a greenhouse. So that is going to get recycled, and it'll become the bottom half of my greenhouse. So,
Oh, perfect.
and whenever I'm and I keep the dimensions in mind, and when I'm at like yard sales or estate sales, I can sometimes find a really good single pane window.
Are you looking for new ways to advertise your business? I would like to invite you to advertise your business on the Homestead Education Podcast. Did you know that 60% of listeners will make a purchase after hearing an ad on a podcast? Why is this? Because personal connections and credibility from someone they truly trust will give you the best conversions. My podcast has been on the air for over 3 years now, and with an average of 5,000 downloads per episode and tons of long-term listeners, you're bound to have somebody who will find that credibility in me. All ad spots will be promoted on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and my weekly newsletter. I have podcast sponsorship spots available that are affordable for all business sizes. And all advertising revenue will be used towards my educational outreach in the form of travel costs, curriculum development, supplies, and the administration of such activities. Go to my show notes now or visit thehomesteadeducation.com/podcast dash sponsorship. I hope to hear from you soon.
And so I'm building
Yep.
up my collection of windows. And will my greenhouse be absolutely gorgeous? No. Will it work? Yes.
You know what I say? There is no Pinterest police.
That's
There
a
is
good
nobody
one.
that comes and says that doesn't look how it's supposed to. Does it work? That's all that matters.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're happy with
Unfortunately,
it.
unfortunately, up here in rural Idaho, that's what matters. There are
Hmm.
some places where the HOA police would come and
Yeah.
smack your hands, and that's why I don't live there.
Right. And we don't have it. We have little to no building codes up here too.
Not at all like you have in some places.
Yeah. Like I know you guys have little. We have no up in Boundary County.
Kootenai County down around Coeur d'Alene has more stringent
Hmm.
building codes, which is also why I moved out of there. Not because I don't want to meet the codes, but because
You don't
anytime
want to
we go,
support that they're doing that.
well, the cost. I mean,
Mhm.
I put up a 30 by 60 pole barn when I lived in Athol, and I think the permits alone cost me over $400.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
Hmm.
Seriously?
Yep. Well, up here in Boundary, you only have to get a building permit if you live inside the city limits. And I think which is only Bonner's Ferry, the rest of the county is not inside a city limit. And I think they're like, oh my goodness, they're under $100. They're like $20 or something like that. And
Oh,
it's just to say, hey, I'm building. That's it. Like,
yeah. Well, my daughter, my son-in-law is active duty Navy, and they're stationed out at Fort Meade, Maryland. So they're right outside the DC metro area. And they came out to visit, and they're looking around and just loving the ruralness of it. My son-in-law said, "Okay, so how many people are in Old Town?" I said, "Okay, because I'm technically in Old Town."
uh,
I said, "Well, I'm not actually in the city. The city of Old Town has 190 people."
that sounds
He
about
went,
right.
but
Yeah.
he said, "But I can see Town Hall from here." I said, "Yeah, the school, the local elementary school, is not inside the town either." He's like, "What's in the town?" I said, "They redrew the town boundaries a few years ago to include every commercial building. That's their tax base. All the people are outside." And I called City Hall and I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because we don't want to pay to plow the roads. If you're not in the city limits, the
That,
county has to do it." I'm going, boy, talk about cheapskates.
right. But I mean, I love kind of, I don't want to say like love the cheapskateness, but the concept of it too, because also if they had to pay to plow, it's going to cost taxpayers so much more because the county funds come from the entire county, not one tiny little town.
Right, right.
So that makes a big difference too. So we were talking a little bit like before the call and a little bit in this that a lot of people don't prep in the way they should because of the negative connotations that come with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important one to cover because in the conversation that we had, I had mentioned that I knew somebody here in Bonners Ferry, which is a very conservatively prepper minded community.
Yeah.
And it was right after COVID, and they were actually buying a hog from us, which was, at least they were looking at buying some meat. But she goes, you know, prepping isn't even on my radar.
That's why I said
Oh
your
my
radar's
gosh.
broken.
Like literally right after COVID. I'm like, do you not remember when you couldn't buy toilet paper 3 months ago? Like, prepping isn't just about waiting for the EMP to hit or and take out the entire infrastructure. Prepping could literally be the fact that every winter we lose power for about 5 days. And we prepare for that every year.
Yeah,
We also prepare for the fact that nobody buys homeschool curriculum in December. And so I need to have my bills paid in advance and enough food in the fridge where if I don't sell curriculum, I can still pull stuff out of the freezer and pantry. And that's what, for the most part, what prepping is to us, at least on our regular basis, how we're feeding ourselves from one, in advance.
right. Well, first of all, can I reiterate? I have no idea why there was a run on toilet paper during COVID because last I heard that wasn't one of the symptoms of the
No, that's a lot of
sickness.
nose wiping happening.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I think it was
Um,
people just didn't want to go to the store, so they wanted to make sure they had everything they needed. But it's
I no, I
still
think it was one person made one comment on social media and everybody ran with it because the herd mentality, all the little lemmings followed.
right.
You know, but yes,
I
I
just
mean,
put it on Amazon subscription and let it show up.
well, the thing you were talking about people, you know, planning ahead. I
Hmm.
mean, the thing to me is the SHTF, when
Hmm.
it hits the fan. Um, what is an SHTF event for you may not be for somebody who lives two doors down. I
Hmm.
mean, if somebody's house burns down, that is a horrible life impacting situation for their family.
Yeah.
It does not have to be a comet hitting the earth for you
Yeah.
to need to be able to take care of
And people don't
options.
think about it because it doesn't like quote affect them, except for, depending on how
Right.
giving they are, they might help out their neighbors. But
But if you have a job loss, a divorce, the
hmm
death of the primary wage earner in your household, that is going to change your entire life. And I personally, I've been in a situation where I had a job loss, and it
hmm
was right when everything was crashing, 2008.
Oof,
My
yeah, that was a hard
company,
time.
my
I
company
actually I
just,
went through a divorce in that time
yeah, oh, it
and a
it was,
domestic violence situation. So there was no
oh,
like we weren't co-parenting, he wasn't helping me. I was figuring it out on my own while the entire world
yeah.
was crashing around us.
And I was a single parent at the time.
Hmm.
So, but and my daughter growing up had always had this mom who always had an earthquake kit when we lived in California, and we always had extra food, and she would roll her eyes, at mom and her little preparedness stuff. And then came 2008. She was in college,
Hmm.
and she looked at me and she said, "Am I going to have to drop out of college?" I went, "No, no. We've got we've got the ability not to have you be affected by that." I had a walk-in pantry, and we had enough supplies and staples that other than buying like milk and, fresh foods, 8 months, 8 months we could live on our supplies. That made a
Nice.
huge impact, because I didn't have to, when you apply for unemployment, it takes 6 to 8 weeks before your first check shows up.
Yep.
You should not have to worry about what am I going to feed my kids during that 6 to 8 weeks. That
No.
is what preparedness is for, is to ensure your family's stability during that
Yeah.
period of time. The one I brought up too was, you can't plan for everything. What happened in North Carolina last year, it doesn't matter how well they were prepared. They lost their house, they lost their car, they lost their phone. Some of them lost part of the property. It fell into the river. There's no way they could have prepared for that.
And their $700 checks weren't going to cover it from FEMA.
And where was FEMA going to mail the check? The house is gone, the mailbox is gone, the road is gone. Where are they going to get that check?
And then they had to
And
sign a thing if they didn't pay it back in a year, they could take their property. What property?
what property?
Yeah.
The thing too with that is that when they got to a town that had electricity, um, if they first of all they didn't have their phone, so they had to hunt around and try and figure out how to get in touch with their insurance agent. If they got online, many of them could not even access their bank accounts because they couldn't remember how to log in, and all the
Hmm.
information had been in their phone. If they got a hold of, pardon me, if they got a hold of their insurance agent, the insurance agent said, absolutely, we are here for you. I need a list of everything you lost and the serial numbers. And with FEMA initially, when they contacted FEMA would ask for two things. They asked for a copy of their lease or mortgage and last year's tax returns. They're in a pile someplace in the mud pile down there.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, if you don't have that, sit down here, fill out this information on the computer, and we'll mail you a $750 check. And they went, where are you going to mail it?
Yeah.
You know, and when I talk to people, they say, oh, well, I have all my critical stuff is in my safe deposit box. I said, well, two things. Number one, I hope the bank doesn't get washed away with the rest of the town.
Hmm.
And number two, I hope that your emergency doesn't happen on a Friday night of a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
So there's options. And that's part of what I deal with in my talks and my book about putting together a family emergency binder, which I also strongly recommend you put all that stuff together and then scan it onto a flash drive,
Yep.
preferably at least two of them. One you hang on to, the other one you put with a trusted family member or friend who does not live with you. And
Yeah.
that should, yes, it should be copies of your insurance papers and your birth certificate and all, but also,
And that drive file, I actually make sure it's saved on a cloud too. So that
yes, but that's only
if
good
infrastructure
if you can
isn't,
access the internet.
yeah, I was gonna say if infrastructure isn't down,
Right,
then that's an option too in case you lose your flash drive
right,
and the person who also lost it. And if
right.
infrastructure is that far down, you probably don't need it anyways. So,
Yeah. Well, one of the things I recommend too is take your phone, walk through your house and narrate it room by room. Put a separate video for each room as you narrate it. Then go outside, walk around each of your vehicles. Then it's running, while the video is still running, sit inside and capture the VIN number.
nice. Yeah.
Because and it doesn't have to be the house burns down. If you get robbed, you now have proof of the condition of something, the VIN number, the serial number, things of that nature from your walkthrough. Those
Although
things
in my house, they'd
are free
probably
to
look at the
do.
pictures and go, "Oh, you got robbed beforehand." They rummaged through everything. Oh no, that's just my children.
That's what it normally looks like. Yeah. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I work with people on. I say it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg to be prepared.
No.
Just time and some attention to detail.
And everyone's level of preparedness is different too.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it, I talk a lot about stop relying on systems. And that's my big one. But the bottom line is if you live in a city, you don't have the space for a garden and five freezers and a, off-grid system. It's just not possible.
Right.
So what you need living there is going to look a lot different than what I need to keep my farm running when it hits the fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I really liked when we talked is a lot of your stuff is about making sure, like you said, the insurance papers, you have your off-grid kits that includes a urban one.
Yeah.
And I think that
My
that is just really important because so many urban people don't think about
yeah.
the things that are part of our kind of everyday lives.
Oh yeah. Like I mentioned to you, my son-in-law is active duty Navy, and they are
Mhm.
stationed out near Washington, D.C. God forbid.
Oh, yeah, so scary.
What my daughter needs to
I don't even like
carry,
traveling out there.
I know. What my daughter needs to carry in her car at all times, especially during the winter, is different than what I need to carry
Hmm.
in a rural area of Idaho. But in talking, we realized there was overlap. Everybody needs to have a flashlight.
Hmm.
Everybody needs to have an emergency blanket. Everybody needs to have a car kit that includes either a flasher or glow sticks or something of that nature. So what I ended up doing was I took her input and created a kit that is separate for urban as opposed to what people out here need. And I mean, like I have out here, I have the backcountry cache, and it has all the same basics, but then it also has a water filter straw. It has a stainless steel spork. It has extra fire starters. It has things of that nature. The urban one, on the other hand, has, for instance, a power pack to charge your phone. Think about people stuck during a mass transit commute.
Hmm.
It has an ultralight drink mix because if somebody hands you water, it may not taste great.
Yeah.
Uh, and in every single kit that I sell, on top is a piece of hard peppermint candy. And people kind of laugh and they go, "Oh, a snack." I said, "Well, yes, but it's there for two reasons. One, peppermint aids in digestion. And if you are in an emergency situation, you may find yourself eating something that is outside your norm.
Hmm.
And so peppermint will aid in digestion. The other is I have several friends who are diabetic. If they are having a diabetic episode, you can crush that piece of peppermint, put it under their tongue, and it will help even out their glucose level.
Yep.
So it's just, do you need that kit every day? No. But if you do,
You'll be so thankful
there's a
you have it.
multi-tool in there, there's a first aid kit, there's a sewing kit. I cannot tell you how many times when I was working in corporate America, I'm about ready to do a presentation, and I guarantee you I have either popped a button or a zipper has broken. And you
I wish
grab
that
that
was my
little,
problem because mine's food down the front and my emergency kit has a Tide stick in it.
exactly. And but that's the whole point. An emergency doesn't have to be, you know, a comet hitting the earth. It can
Yeah.
be getting ready to go on to a podcast, and at the last minute, you dump spaghetti down your front, or,
Yep.
something along those lines. So yes, I agree. It's amazing how people don't stop to it's never going to happen to me.
Hmm.
It's that mindset of disasters happen to somebody else until it suddenly does.
Hmm.
Until it suddenly comes home.
And a lot of your stuff is about, how to have your house prepped and, the tools you need. One thing I cover a lot is if it were to hit the fan, do you know how to do all the things?
Yeah.
And sometimes I mean, I'm not talking like going out and setting up a whole off-grid system. Somebody else is, concerned about that. I'm concerned about it, but I'm not, I have other systems in place. But it's even just as basic as if you are going to rely on a system and you're waiting 3 weeks for FEMA to show up, or if you lose your job and you're relying on the food bank is not giving you microwave pizzas.
Hmm.
The food bank is giving you dried peas, flour, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know
How to cook
what
from
to do with it?
scratch. Yeah.
Yeah. There's even stuff like I always say that we're prepping skills. Like that's what we hoard is our skills.
Hmm.
And a couple years ago, we made a whole bunch of cider, and so I decided to make apple cider vinegar with all my scraps. And my husband, he kind of gets on board, whatever. Like, we
Sure.
started this whole, lifestyle to save his life after a terminal diagnosis, and it worked. So he goes along with most of what I suggest. And he's like, okay, so is this a thing now? Are we making apple cider vinegar? Like, is this just our new? He's like, because if it is, I'll go make a place in one of the cellars for it. And I was like, no, no. I was like, we're gonna make apple cider vinegar this year. And if it works, then we're solid. If it doesn't work, we try it again next year. And then currently, I'm still comfortable buying apple cider vinegar from the store. But
Yes.
if we're everything to go down, I have an orchard on my property. Within a reasonable amount of time, I could get apples, make apple cider vinegar again, and have what I need for cleaning and disinfecting and digestion and all that stuff.
And it's when people talk about, oh, if it hits, I'll grow a garden. I'm like, have you
Have
grown
you
a
grown
garden
a
before?
garden before? Do you
And
have
not
seeds?
even before, like, and it's year to year. Good example,
Yeah.
this last year, I mean, I start all my veggies inside under grow lamps,
Hmm.
February, March timeframe.
Yep, I do too. Yeah.
Um, and then plant outdoors somewhere around Memorial Day. This year, I transplanted, and I mean, I was going for big. I planned and transplanted 12 zucchini plants, 12 straight neck and
Hmm.
12 crook neck, and then
Nice.
12 delicatas. Lots of squash. We eat a lot of squash. Planted all those. The zucchini did all right. The cucumbers did all right. The straight eights did fine. I got a total of one yellow squash out of 24 plants.
Yeah, I planted 20 beefsteaks and got two tomatoes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my tomatoes did like nothing.
But
My
like
green
last
bean
year, we were
my green
drowning
beans
in
were
tomatoes.
oh my green beans were great. They were coming
Mm,
out my ears. But and they were
yep,
like in like next to each other in separate raised beds, so it's not and same basic soil, same basic
right.
watering. So
And
good thing I
like,
wasn't trying to feed myself on them this year.
right? Well, and like, I had tons of tomato plants and like no tomatoes. I dialed back on peppers this year and had so many peppers that
Mm,
I didn't know what to do with half of them. And it made it worse because I tried some new peppers this year and then my son dropped the tray when we were walking out to transplant. And so I had no clue what half the peppers were. And so I'm like, well,
yes.
we'll just plant them and see what happens. And
See what
so a
happens.
lot of them I didn't even know what to do with. I didn't even know what they were. But I was like, whatever.
Well,
Um,
one of the things I decided to try this year too is I love sugar peas, like you use
ooh,
for
yeah.
Oriental foods. And so what I did is I got four different types. And I have a long, narrow bed that I put my peas in. And I took little tiny plastic Dixie cups like you get at the doctor to take
Hmm.
your medicine. And I wrote the type of pea on each one, and I put it at the beginning, and then I
Oh, there you
planted,
go.
then I here, and that way I could remember what kind it was. When I'm looking and I'm going, okay, those didn't even come up. These I can't keep up with because there's so many of them. Okay, we're going to use that one again.
That's so
So,
smart.
I had tried other
We,
things in the past and they went away. But if you take a little Dixie cup and you turn it upside down and bury half of it and put the name around the top, it'll stay there and the water just
nice,
goes off. And they were free, which is even better.
right? Well, and there's a lot of people that they say I'm going to grow a garden, but what if everything hits the fan in November?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you only have one source of seeds, like, oh, I have one of those emergency seed packs. Well, if you grow all those seeds and none of your tomatoes turn red and get ripe where you can seed save, then you've used all your seeds and you have no more tomato seeds for next year.
Well, and the other thing too is you get one of those kits and you go, okay, I'm going to plant these. And you take a look, and half the seeds are for somebody who lives south of the Mason-Dixon line. You know,
I actually do buy mine from a northern. I have two different suppliers because
same
also
here.
again, sometimes seeds don't always go. So I have two separate suppliers that are both specific to like the P&W.
Yeah, I do too. I have a couple that I buy from regularly, and then I will also branch out and get a few from like, baker's seeds.
Yeah,
You
when
know,
there's something fun you want to try. And then I
well,
seed save every year everything I can because then again, what if, I mean, what if my mudroom floods and all my seeds in
yeah,
my, things go bad, but I was seed saving and had them all hanging in the walk-in cooler or something, like I still
yeah.
have options.
One of the plants that I have started growing that has been very popular, I've given it to people, is called the toothache plant.
Oh,
Have you ever
yeah.
heard of it?
I have a
And
bunch growing out in my garden right now, but I don't know. I mean, I know what to do with it, but I don't know what to do with it, so it's just pretty.
yeah, well, and it really works. If you
Uh-huh.
grow it, you take the little flower, the little seed flowers, and you basically turn those into a poultice.
Uh-huh.
Put them on your, if you've got a toothache, put it on that's what the Native Americans used.
Hmm.
Put it on your gum and it will take that right away. Now, it's also good if you have a cut and you need to,
Ooh.
for instance, stitch it up,
Uh-huh.
put the poultice on first and it will deaden the skin so that you can suture
Well, there you
without
go. That's
much pain.
nice.
So it's a very handy little thing. It doesn't grow outside very well for me. I have to start
Mhm.
it indoors.
Mine
But
actually was volunteer this year.
oh, good for you.
Um,
Mine are sometimes forced volunteer. Grow where
eh,
else?
or yeah, or we're completely overran by the cherry tomatoes that I never picked, and so they all started, and it literally looks like grass growing of
Oh,
12-inch tall cherry tomato plants.
oh God. No, mine, I learned my lesson when you're not keeping my mint in
Mm,
check. It
yeah.
just kind of took over.
Well, I made the mistake of, oh, I'm just going to mulch all my dead plants and put them back in my beds um, for organic matter for next year, which would have been a good idea had a lot of my tomato plants not still had like dried tomatoes on them. And
You
so I
put the seeds
basically just
in.
spread cherry tomatoes all over my entire garden and my compost pile.
There's
I mean, I
worse
guess
things
there's
that could
worse.
spread.
Yeah, there's worse things, so, and, one of them, the bed didn't do very well with the other plants that were in there, and I had a ton of cherry tomatoes, so, we'll work it out. But, so do you want to tell everyone where they can, like, find you, get all your stuff? Because her
Sure.
books on her little, like, kits they're amazing. They're, like, exactly what every family needs.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the two books that I have published so far, one is called The Grab and Go Binder.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is called, it looks like this. It's the single person's guide to preparedness, prepping for one.
Yes.
And both of those books are available on Amazon. You can just put in my name, put in Lindy Bryant, and they'll pop right up. Um, then also, I have a website, which is northwoodsofidaho.com. And on there, you can find the books. You can also check out my blog, which has a lot of great tips for different things. And also, it has my survival kits. The name of them is called Survival in a Bottle. And there are three different kits. There's the Backcountry Cache, the Urban Stash, and the Everyday Carry. They've all got the same basic items like, first aid kit, sewing kit, multi-tool, flashlight, lighter, all that sort of stuff. But then they have one has the water filter straw and things of that nature. That's the backcountry version. The urban has the power pack to charge your phone, uh, all that type of thing. And then the everyday carry just has all the basics. And they're in single walled stainless steel bottles. So in a pinch, you could cook or boil water in them. So
Perfect.
there, and nothing in those kits is harmed by heat or cold. So you can take the kit, toss it in the glove compartment of your car or your kid's car, and know that they've got a flashlight. You know they've got an emergency kit. You know that they've got a an emergency blanket. Those things you
I mean,
never know when you're going to need.
it's peace of mind in a bottle.
That's why you can wrap peace of mind and put it under the tree this year.
I love it.
So yeah, so it's the website is northwoodsofidaho.com.
All right. So, as we're at the end of our time, my favorite question for everybody is what does keep growing mean to you?
Keep growing. I mean, from a business aspect or from an individual aspect?
Whatever it means to you. That's the beauty of it.
Well, from a personal aspect, to me, keep growing means keep learning.
Hmm.
Um, if you're bored, learn something new, meet new people, volunteer someplace new.
That's
Um,
great.
if you're talking about from a business aspect, I'm always looking for somebody else I can help.
That's great. I like that because, like we were saying earlier, that's such a beauty about our niche is that we're always trying to figure out how to fill that gap.
Hmm.
I like that. So, well, thank you so much for coming on today. Everybody, make sure you reach out to Lindy, say hi. She's a joy to talk to. I wish I had all day to just sit and chat, but thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Kody. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing!